Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as Manchester United basically say to Benjamin Sesko, it's your call. Will he choose Manchester United as United wait and see? Also, Ollie Watkins is still very much part of this story and I don't know what's in the water tonight. I don't know whether it's a full moon. We've got three incredibly ridiculous stories to react to from three different journalists. We'll talk about that as well. And I'm standing up. I actually made a note the other day. Stand up more. I have a stand-up set. Cantona's on the top shelf. I can stand up and I actually quite like standing up sometimes. So welcome to the show, everybody. 8 o'clock show. I always get very excited about this. I'm back in my studio on the 8 o'clock show because the builders have gone. Great job they're doing as well. But we are stood up. Let's go. So what's going on with Sesko? There seems to be at the moment a little bit of rumours going out there that it's Favel who wants Sesko and it's Wilcox who wants Watkins. And this is causing a bit of conflict and frustration in the fan base. I'll tell you why I think it's a good thing in a moment, but let's just bring you up to date with what's going on. Manchester United, look, even Romano said this morning that Favel is really pushing for Sesko because he wants him. We know that as of last Thursday from our source, we broke it first actually, that Watkins was the priority. So what do I know from that, and what do we know from everything else that has been spoken about? Well, I think United are all I know is that United are pulling on Arsenal. What we're basically doing is we're lining up two strikers. Maybe we've learned from Arsenal, maybe we've come up with the plan ourselves, but I actually think it's a good one. As of Thursday, United, Watkins was the player they were going to be spending the next 3 or 4 weeks trying to get, even though Villa want 60 million. But over the weekend, Newcastle have gone in for Sesko, and for whatever reason, Man United have been made aware of that. Now, many people think that's Sesko's agent, which means they are interested in Manchester United, and obviously Favel has got a very good relation with RB. It could have been as simple as, what's the terms of Newcastle? What are they looking to do? And he's brought it to Man United. Whatever reason, over the weekend, Man United have got involved in this Sesko race. At the start of last week, it was too expensive, but we've got involved. Favel is pushing it. As of tonight, the situation is this. A deal is effectively close in the sense that Man United are waiting on what Sesko wants to do. Man United won't move on a player this summer unless the player says they want Man United. This is something that's been hinted at all summer. So Man United's stance is, we're not getting involved in anything where you are thinking about Newcastle or anybody else. So if Sesko says, I want United, United will then step into negotiations with Leipzig. But as of tonight, that decision hasn't been made. If Sesko chooses Newcastle, that deal will be done really, really quickly. If Sesko says, I want Man United, the deal could take weeks because we know what Man United are like, but he would be choosing Man United. And that is where United are tonight. Now, I don't know which way that's going to go. What does that mean for Ollie Watkins? I still think there's a bit of an internal battle going on at United. I still think United are sort of like, which one do we do? But I personally think that United are playing this the right way. I don't see it as Team Favel wants Sesko and Team Wilcox wants Watkins. I see it as there are two options here, both of which I'd be quite happy with. And if we play it right, this is how a football club should play it. I think Arsenal played it really well with Gyökeres and Sesko. I think they actually wanted both and they knew they could only have one. So they basically just went ahead on both and took the better deal. I think there's a lot to complain about over the last few years under the Glazers. And I think there's a lot to complain about in relation to Ineos. And I don't know why Man United would have a problem with that. We are 15th. We lost the Europa League final. The club is crumbling. You deserve criticism. Of course you do. But that doesn't mean everybody in that football club deserves criticism. And whilst I think mistakes have been made around Dan Ashworth and many other things, if we play our cards right here, and it is late in the window, But if we play our cards right here, we could end up in a decent situation. But I think so much depends on Sesko. If Sesko chooses Newcastle, I think that messes us up. I really do. But we'll have to wait and see. But having said that, if Sesko chooses Newcastle, I don't really understand it. And some people are not going to like what I'm about to say. But if Sesko chooses Newcastle over Manchester United, having listened to Mbeumo's interview and having listened to Cunha's interviews, they've chosen Man United for more than, Champions League football, which we can't offer. They've chosen Manchester United because of what we still can be and what we still are. Now, how long we'll be able to do that is up for debate. I still think when you look at Newcastle and Manchester United, if you take Newcastle, you're taking money. I don't see any other reason to go to Newcastle at the moment other than money. People will say Champions League football. Yeah, but how flimsy is that? Are Newcastle going to be in the Champions League next year? Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Are they, I understand people choosing Liverpool or Arsenal over Man United at the moment. I don't really understand why you'd choose Newcastle. So I think that we're in for a big 24, 48 hours. And as I said last night, the longer this goes on, the better for us, because that Newcastle deal could be done really, really quickly. So look, I think where we are at the moment is it's Sesko's call. Do you want to get into negotiations with Man United, or are you just going to take Newcastle? What I will say, and what I was told, is if Sesko ends up signing for Newcastle in the next 48 hours, expect stories to drop that Man United weren't interested. I don't think that's a story Man United can drop, by the way. I don't think that's a story that United fans will go, we never wanted him anyway. I don't think that'll work. So if United are thinking of, we'll just put it out there that we weren't interested, we know you were. We know Favel was. And also, Newcastle are a rival of ours this season. You've let them go and get a player that we should be getting. So I'm very interested to see what happens. I don't think it's disrespectful to Watkins, by the way. Ollie Watkins is coming towards the back end of his career. He's never played for a top big club. And if the opportunity arises for him, because Sesko goes to Newcastle, fair play. But I don't think we're being offensive to Watkins by saying we need to see what can happen with Sesko. I think and it's exactly what Arsenal did with Gyökeres and Sesko. And I don't remember Gyökeres or Sesko going, you can't treat me like that. The club should always have the power, and we should be moving Watkins and Sesko together. And if we want to move out, we move out. And if we want to move forward, we move forward. And look, I'll give you a scenario. You move forward with Sesko and Aston Villa say, we will sell him for 45 million, but you've got to do it now. Maybe you take that deal. Maybe you don't. But Man United need to make this work for them. 100%. Tom Grant says, has Sesko given any indication? Suspense, says Tom. I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know. All I know is that United have spoken to his people, and it really is down to what Sesko wants to do, because Leipzig can do a deal with Newcastle tomorrow, and Newcastle have basically given the terms to Sesko. So that deal happens tomorrow if he wants it. If he doesn't want it, you Newcastle need to pull out and Man United get a free run. And I think that's what we're waiting for. And look, of course, I wouldn't expect, here we go, an official deal with Man United. God knows how long it will take us to negotiate with Leipzig. But I would expect Sesko has chosen Man United. And then, let me just make it very clear. David Ornstein, 2nd of June, Brian Mbeumo only wants Man United. From that moment, we knew he was going to be a Man United player. It took 6 weeks for the official signing. So that's what we're waiting for, really. Pete Jones is a new member. Thank you very much for that. And I think that clears up what the situation is. We just need to find out. Do I think we'll sign him? I mean, look, it's not me negotiating, is it? If it was, I'd say yes, but it's not. So I think with Man United, you just never know. We didn't get Delap. We didn't get Gyökeres. We didn't get Ekitike. Maybe this will be number 4, number 5. I don't know. I'm losing count. But I think it's a very good opportunity to rescue something from a pretty shit transfer window in relation to strikers. I mean, as I tweeted this afternoon, it would be unforgivable for Man United to come out of this transfer window without a striker and a goalkeeper when they were the 2 biggest priorities coming into the summer. Nate says, the striker debate is simple for me, Mark. I want whoever the manager wants. It's his project on the line. Thanks for great show as always. I agree with you, Nate. I absolutely agree with you. And this is what the 8 o'clock show is all about. It's really to be led by you. And I do agree with you. I think that with Bruno, Ricky was messaging me this morning about Bruno again. And I said to him, look, I would have sold him, Ricky. you know, you're sort of talking to the converted. I do like Bruno, but I can't lie because the clips are there. I would have sold him. But what we have to say is I back Amorim, and Amorim wanted to keep Bruno. So I'm of the situation now that I want Bruno to do well because, well, I always want him to do well because I like him, but I want this to be justified because the manager, as Nate says, must be chosen. But look, that doesn't mean we can't have an opinion. I was on Terry's channel earlier, and there was a brilliant comment. We were sort of debating about Sesko or Watkins, and we both went with Sesko. But somebody said this: you can make a decision on Sesko or Watkins. It's really easy. And if you're struggling with it tonight, it's really easy. Imagine you flip a coin. Heads, it's Watkins. Tails, it's Sesko. Now, if it lands on Watkins, are you disappointed you didn't get Sesko? If it lands on Sesko, are you disappointed you didn't get Watkins? There's your answer. It is close. I like both players, but to be honest with you, if we flip the coin and it lands on Watkins, I'll wonder what if with Sesko. Whereas if it lands on Sesko, I don't think I'll wonder what if with Watkins. I like both. I really do. And I would support both. I would. I really, really would. And Sesko is the bigger risk. But for me, football is about risk. You know, Cantona was a massive risk. You know, I think it's worth the risk. We need something. And look, the rumour is Wilcox thinks we should go Premier League proven. And I understand that. It's not like, let's get Calvert-Lewin over Sesko. I understand. I like Watkins. He's scored, 15 goals or more for the last 2 seasons in the Premier League, and he gets assists. If he does that again, added into what Cunha and Mbeumo can do, then I think that's really, really interesting. And look, did you hear what Mbeumo said in relation to... I don't know whether I've got the quote here. I'm sure Mbeumo said something. Yeah, he said this about Watkins. Watkins is a complete striker. He can do a lot of things. He can get involved in the play or make runs in behind. This is really good for me or a winger because you can use his movements to take up space. He knows how to combine. I mean, that's from Mbeumo talking about Watkins. He used to play with him at Brentford, of course. But, I mean, that's 2 things, really. That's Mbeumo saying, I don't really want to play up front. And it's also Mbeumo saying, giving the value of Watkins, his abilities to make runs in behind and create space and bring the winger into the game. So, look, Watkins would be a good signing. Maybe he'd be a better signing than Sesko in the short term. I don't know. Big decisions, but United need to use it to their advantage. Villa wanted Amas, says Eddie. Well, I've got to bring this in, actually. I'll bring this in now. There's 3 stories tonight, none of which I think... I mean, I don't know what these journalists are on. So you got Matt Law. I don't know whether he's a Villa fan. I always thought he was a Chelsea. Daily Telegraph, Football News, Matt Law. I always thought he was a Chelsea journalist. Someone said to me he's a Villa fan, and it might make sense. So he's put this out in the last couple of hours. If Man United really value Ollie Watkins at 40 to 45 million, then they don't actually want him. Maybe the manager does and the hierarchy don't, or maybe he's viewed as better than nothing. Or maybe it's just to placate United fans. But if United really want Watkins, they would pitch something serious. Whoa, hold on a minute, mate. I mean, I quite like journalists who just get out there and, you know, put their balls on the table. I do it all the time. And it comes from a place of at least I have an opinion. But what's that all about? What's that all about? You know, if Man United are interested in Watkins, put a serious offer on the table. I think 40 to 45 million pounds for a player that Emery clearly doesn't fancy, and for a player that wants to leave Villa. I mean, I know Watkins ain't walking round on holiday with a United shirt on, but it's very obvious that he wants to go. It's very obvious that Emery doesn't have total confidence in him. He's going to be 30 in December. I mean, serious offer. I mean, what's a serious offer? I mean, you can't have 60 million, I'm afraid. It's 40 to 45. It's a serious offer. Simple as that. I mean, I don't think it's an unserious offer. Then you've got Miguel Delaney, who I've heard about for years, but I've never heard him get anything right for years. He's the chief football writer in The Independent. He says United have spoken to Chelsea and Villa about potential trades involving Garnacho and Jackson or Watkins. Chelsea currently value Jackson at 80 million and Garnacho at 30. I mean, I would actually believe that Chelsea would do that, and I believe that we would pay it. But that's because Chelsea just have a Jedi mind trick on people. You will sell us your players for cheap, and you will pay ridiculous money for our players. I will sell you our players for cheap, and I will pay stupid money. They've got some sort of magic going on. But he also goes on to say that interest in Sesko after Watkins, but requires sales. Also looking at a 6 and a goalkeeper. And then this is the best of the lot for the hat-trick. Nick Pope could emerge as a target for Manchester United if Newcastle sign Aaron Ramsdale. Pope is out of contract next summer, and Pope fits the profile of the type of player United are looking for a challenge to Andre Onana. Alex Crook, Talk Sport. I mean, I think that's criminal. I think that's up there with Calvert-Lewin for me. Nick Pope as Man United's new goalkeeper. I mean, God, look, at times I would have put him in goal for England over Pickford, but bloody hell. Man United's, talk shit. Exactly, says Phil Cartwright. I mean, this is what I mean, though. You call these people out. When do they ever get anything right? They don't. They just write shit. Bloody Nick Pope. I'd rather have Ramsdale, thank you. I'd rather have bloody Ramsdale. So just be. It might be true. It might be bloody true. I don't know. But look, I thought those 3 updates were absolute shite tonight. But let's have a look what you got to say. How much sentimental to Villa? Sesko, says JB. I don't know what that means. Sesko follows United on Instagram, says Declan. Yeah, that means nothing, mate. That doesn't mean anything. This has happened so many times over the years. I mean, countless players have followed us on Instagram and didn't sign for us. Mojo has gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much, Mojo. You're an absolute legend. Give him a thank you if you got one. Bisson says, invest in whatever gets us into Europe. It's simple. And look, you know what? Interestingly, I'm sure Beth will talk about it on the 2 a.m. show from Chicago. But because I know she's been at the open training today. But I'm starting to get, I think Bisson makes a great point. We in the summer transfer window, we do sort of get locked in, don't we, on stories, and we need this, we need that, we need to sell this, we need to sell that. The Premier League starts 2 weeks on Friday. Friday night football, I can't remember who it is it Liverpool? Friday night football, 2 weeks on Friday is the Premier League starts. It's really coming fast. Now, add into that, Xerxes didn't train again today, and neither did Mazraoui. So they've got knocks, but Xerxes hasn't played against Leeds or West Ham, and he won't play against Bournemouth. So, Bisson's right. We can talk and talk and talk. We need to be ready. And this is what worries me. We're not ready for the start of this season, in my opinion, and points are up for grabs. And as Bisson says, all I'm interested in is getting into the Champions League. I think it's so important. And United can lay all the plans they want, but if we miss out on the Champions League again, that's another £120 million going to every other club that's in it again, on top of this year and that year. Look, I said it to you a few weeks ago. Since the Champions League format has changed, Liverpool have won 100 million last year, at least another 100 million this year. So the 200 million on United, even if we get into it next year. If we don't get it into it next year, that's 300 million. Just for being in the Champions League and us not. These are huge amounts of money that we just can't afford to miss on. So people who say, Wilcox is wrong to go for Watkins. If Watkins comes in and scores 15 Premier League goals and we finish 5th, but Sesko comes in and struggles and we finish 7th, what's more important? Sesko's long term. I think short term actually matters. I think 5th place this year matters. We can't afford to not be in the Champions League anymore. Of course, some people would say, yeah, but if you get in the Champions League, how much of that money actually gets spent on the team? J. Dot says, hi Mark, it's my 24th birthday. Can you please say happy birthday to me? I'm kind of going through it right now. Can everybody say happy birthday to J. Dot? Hope you're doing well, mate. Member for 26 months, well known in the community. Hope you're having a great day. Matthew says, I feel like news days will be slow till Anthony sale. I know I'm over optimistic, says Abby. Just sell the Bombay squad and get both, says Abby. I don't know what that means. Can we afford another risk and no Europe again, though, says Mario. But what if we get neither, says Simon? Well, this is what I mean. I can't tell you we will. Jaden's gifted a membership. Thank you very much to Jaden. And Scythe, this is interesting. He says, as a follower of Leipzig for years, Sesko to United has always been a dream. That being said, I'm a bit concerned whether he suits Amorim's system. I love this comment. I've said it myself. I've seen quite a bit of Sesko over the years. There is no doubt in his quality, but is he the guy that presses high? Is he the guy that runs in behind? I mean, he's a good player, but I don't know. I don't have the answer to that question either way. Damien says, 2 weeks ago, Sesko was a non-interest. Now I'm all in. Sean Turner says, weird take. Højlund is big in this striker saga. We get Watkins. I think he stays. You get Sesko. He has to go. How much does the manager like Rasmus, says Sean. Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know what Amorim wants on this. I don't know what Amorim wants. You know, I'm sort of doing this show with you and I'm talking myself out of Sesko and going towards Watkins. But I still feel Sesko's the right thing to do. I just think we have to play this situation to the best of our ability. We either get Sesko or we get Watkins for cheap. Like, one of those two things has to happen. We can't end up watching Sesko go to Newcastle and, you know, negotiating with Villa till transfer deadline day and missing out on everything. That cannot be acceptable. That can't be acceptable at all. But I don't know what Amorim wants. Obviously, Favel is pushing Sesko and maybe Wilcox is pushing Watkins, and I don't mind that. But what Amorim wants is key, and we don't really know what Amorim wants, do we? Christian has gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate that. Make sure you give him a thank you. Thank you very much, Christian. I would rather have Favel's choice, says Jason, as look at Wilcox's first choice, Delap. Wilcox hasn't got a clue. Watkins is class, but he's nearly 30, says Jason. I mean, look, we're never going to agree with everybody and we're never going to agree all the time. I don't really know why we went for Delap other than price. I didn't really understand what that was all about. Liam Delap would have been a total learner driver at Man United, but for £30 million, maybe it was worth it. Jeremy says, I'm delighted to hear that we want players that want us, but are we to understand that in the previous years this was not already a prerequisite, says Jeremy. Good point. Has Sesko given any indication? Suspense, says Tom Grant. Jackson is 80 million. Sharing such news is crime. Chelsea spreading jokes to make people sick, not to laugh, says Ibrahim. Pete Jones, thanks for becoming a member. Appreciate that. Thanks for getting your badge in. I've done that from Nate. Done that one as well. If we had Saudi, we'd have both, says Alexander. Why can't we send Højlund on loan to Leipzig while negotiating Sesko? Højlund can gain more confidence playing for Leipzig in a slower league. He can come back next season as more sellable asset. Sesko worries me like Werner and Sancho, says Anu. I mean, I think that is a good point. The Bundesliga doesn't always translate well to Manchester to football to the Prem. They only came for the daft wages, Mark, says Big Dog. Ashen, welcome to Members Club. And the Keystone says, from Slovenia to the Stretford end, defenders break, their backs will bend. Sesko scores, the net's his friend. Red Devil glory till the end. Let's go. You're a poet and you didn't know it, Keystone. If Sesko chooses Newcastle, Watkins' price goes up. Yes, I agree. Ghost 92, I do, which is why if I was playing this game, I was negotiating this game, I would drag it out. I would make Sesko not make his mind up. And while Sesko's not making his mind up, I'd be saying to Villa, look, we're negotiating with Sesko. We reckon we're going to get a deal done. If you want to do a deal, that's the price. Take it or leave it. And you do that. It's basically what Arsenal did with Gyökeres and Sesko. They were negotiating with Leipzig and they were negotiating with Sporting and they got a good deal. If Sesko chooses Newcastle, Watkins' price goes up. That was from Ghost 92. Lee Berman, hope you're doing well. He says, I do not think we can fail here with either signing. We haven't been in this sort of position for ages. We cannot drop the ball. I sort of agree with Lee. I do sort of agree with Lee. I don't know how. Some might say it's lucky that maybe it's just because the striker market is so big this year. But I don't know how we're landing on plan E and we've still got 2 decent options. That is really strange. If you look over the years on how we've delivered to Jose or Louis van Gaal or Erik ten Hag plan D options and they've been nowhere near plan A. The interesting thing with this is that you've got Benjamin Sesko, Ollie Watkins as plan E, because we went for Ekitike, we went for Gyökeres, we went for Delap, maybe Osimhen. They're still really good options. They're still really good options. And I don't think we can land on a bad one. What I will say, though, is that when it comes to Sesko, if we get Watkins and Sesko stays at Leipzig, okay, that might be okay. The thing that makes this a little bit more balanced towards Sesko is if we get Watkins and Newcastle get Sesko, that could directly hurt us. That's quite strange in this scenario because look at Arsenal. Gyökeres or Sesko. They get Gyökeres. Sesko, they think, is staying at Leipzig. If he goes to Newcastle, what are the chances that Sesko is going to score enough goals to hurt Arsenal? Pretty slim. But for us, if we get Watkins and Newcastle get Sesko, Newcastle probably have got a better team than us. If he scores the goals, they'll probably finish above us. So that is something I think we have to consider as well. We have to make the right choice, but there is also the bonus of hurting. Because where do Newcastle go? Maybe they go for Ollie Watkins. Has anyone thought about that? Maybe Newcastle go for Ollie Watkins. I mean, no one's mentioning that. Look, if Villa want to sell, they'll sell. Doesn't matter whether it's Man United or Newcastle. Newcastle have Champions League, says Xander, but as a club, I really think it's no competition. If Sesko chooses Newcastle over United just because of Champions League football. Yeah, I mean, I'm not disrespecting Newcastle here. They've had a bad enough window as it is, but I don't think there's a decision to be made there. I think it's Manchester United. Carlos Del Campo, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. Head says Watkins. Heart says Sesko. Bank says no, says Bisson. Would you go for Balogun? Huge potential and not too expensive. USA golden striker, says Alex. No, because he played for Arsenal. Long time since I could attend a live 8 p.m. show, says JD. Excited for the Sesko news. 4 in, 4 out. Let's get our season rolling. Fingers crossed. Why don't you get Hakimi or Kvaratskhelia or Doué, says Kanishka. Someone explain to him the world of football. Do we trust Wilcox? He thought we had signed Delap, says Paul Clancy. My dream came true and met Bruno and Martinez at the MetLife in New Jersey and was pleased to bump into Beth too. Keep up the good work, says NR313. Glad you had a great time, mate. And sounds like Fivel's going to lose his job, says Steve Brown. And Mark, I hope Sesko goes to Manchester because Newcastle fans deserve it, says Joe Wright. Well, look, I think just to wrap that up and move on to something else. I think Sesko, it's Sesko's call. He's got to make his mind up. And if he's going to choose Newcastle, it's going to happen very, very quickly. If he's going to choose Manchester United, no news is good news, as I say. But it could, the twist in it could still be how much money Man United got. It would be a crying shame to have to back out of this because we can't actually afford it. And that is something that at the moment, I don't think United are playing that card. I think they're playing the card of Sesko, do you want to come to Man United? If I was Sesko, I would say yes, but have you got the money? Because I don't want to say no to Newcastle and then you can't do a deal with Leipzig. So, yeah, I think something needs to happen there. But we know United, rightly or wrongly, don't really want to do deals with people who aren't fully committed to coming to the club because it weakens our negotiation point. How do you sell the United project to Sesko, says Simon? It ain't easy. It ain't easy, but I think you sell the project on, look at Manchester United against West Ham at the MetLife. 82,000 people there. We're a huge football club. We are. I mean, look, I don't take any pride. Well, I do take pride in this, but look at the United stand comparable to whatever Liverpool do, whatever Arsenal do, whatever Chelsea do. We're a huge football club, Manchester United. We're definitely a sleeping giant. People used to say that Newcastle were a sleeping giant. They're more like a sleeping mole. They're not actually a huge football club like Man United, with all due respect. So we have to play on the name Manchester United. I don't know how long we can keep doing that. We don't qualify for the Champions League as often as we should. We haven't competed for a Premier League title in over a decade. So those things are problematic. But I still think we have a pull. And we've seen that this summer with Mbeumo and Cunha. So you've got to sell that project, of course. And we still do have a pull. And that's what we've got to play on, certainly. Ortega was told he can leave City. Opportunity, says Antonios. I don't think United can sign City or Liverpool players. I still don't think that's a right thing for me. Is there a possibility of Sesko staying, says Ronan? I genuinely think teams like Leipzig wouldn't, and Brighton aren't bothered about retaining people like Sesko or Wirtz, Leverkusen, or Isak at Newcastle, or Belieber at Brighton, because these players are still going to be valuable next year. So I don't think Leipzig are bothered about keeping him if they don't get the price they want. But it feels like Newcastle are willing to pay the price, so I think he will go one way or another. The 2 purchases we made will get us 20 plus goals between them this season. Any available funds should be used for a goalkeeper, says Adrian. I disagree, Adrian. I respect what you're saying, but I don't see Cunha and Mbeumo getting 20 goals each this season. I think you underestimate Old Trafford, Manchester United, lack of consistency, pressure. I hope you're right, but I just want to temper expectation. Plenty of players have come to Manchester United and struggled, and we won't have it all our own way. Like, I still worry about United. Look, I want to talk about wing backs. We will definitely do it tonight. But let's talk about the goalkeeper for a moment. I find it incredible that we're going into the season with the same 2 goalkeepers. Now, imagine you're playing away to Brighton, a place where you might think Mbeumo and Cunha will get one of those 20 goals. You go to Brighton, you start off quite well. Cunha hits the woodwork. Mbeumo's buzzing around. Looks like it's going to be one of our days. Brighton have an attack. Deflection. Goes for a corner. They loop it up, and Arnold doesn't come for it. It bundles in with a deflection. We're 1-0 down. The heads drop. We end up losing 1-0. That's the potion I'm talking about. It's the Cunha and Mbeumo can't do it on their own. And there are 9 other players from last season around them with the same mentalities and the same ability to drop their heads when things go wrong. I think Cunha and Mbeumo will score 20 goals each if they play in a Man United side that's buzzing for 90 minutes for 38 games. But that ain't going to happen. What's going to happen is that we have got Cunha and Mbeumo, but we've also got 9 players who've shown us very recently that when things go bad, they get worse. And then Cunha and Mbeumo are running around in a side that's bereft of confidence, and nothing's happening. And that's my biggest concern. And that's not negativity, that's reality. That's Amorim's job to try and polish turds, basically, because he hasn't been given the things we know we need. Cunha and Mbeumo are very good, but they're 2 players. And I really do worry about that. I'll be very surprised if it's not a problem. I don't even need to name players. I saw it last season, saw it under Ten Hag, saw it under Ollie. This strange mentality that you can't coach. You can get everybody on the training ground and say, do this, do that, do this. But in the pressure cooker of being a Man United player, there's too many players that over the years just drop their heads. And I don't know whether Cunha and Mbeumo are going to be able to do that themselves. They need more than that, which is why I want a goalkeeper. It's why I want a striker. It's why I want a midfielder. 3 players in the spine. It makes us better. How do you sell the United project? We've done that from Simon. Our scouting team is an absolute joke, says Thierry. Why? I think the scouting team probably does quite a good job. They just probably don't get their own way. Keep an eye on Conor Gallagher, says Vivek. I don't mind Conor Gallagher, but I don't think that's going to be the player that's going to get everyone excited. Luke says, in my opinion, the chances of Watkins flopping next season are lower compared to Sesko. And see, you know what? I like Watkins anyway. But if anything, this show has started taking me back towards Watkins. And I'll tell you why. Because some of you made some compelling arguments. But I did read your Balogun take, Alex. I think you're just getting impatient with the super chats. They don't get read instantly. I have to work through them whilst also talking about others. It's called being... Well, it's called the 8 o'clock show. Why are you changing your mind? It's not that I'm changing my mind. I do like Watkins, but I can't help but get locked in on like what somebody just said there. Mbeumo and Cunha will bring us goals, and so will Watkins. Guaranteed goals. How many goals are you going to guarantee me from Sesko next season? 15? 10? 8? I think Watkins guarantees you 15. And those 15 goals added to what Bruno will deliver, what Cunha will deliver, and what Mbeumo will deliver, it's probably going to put us around 60 goals, which is about a 20 increase from where we are now. Yes, it's short term, but I tell you what, my short-term goal is, look, let me put it like this. I do prefer the Sesko signing because it stops Newcastle and I think he's got more potential. But if you're offering me right here, right now, in 3 years' time, Sesko will win the Golden Boot and you'll get in the Champions League, or in 1 year's time, Watkins will get you in the Champions League. Give me Watkins. I think time is not our friend. 3 years' time to qualify for the Champions League, that's $500 million in Liverpool's pocket and we've got nothing. We need to be in the Champions League next year. That's got to be the focus. And if we go with Sesko and we get Champions League, great. If we don't, and we go for Watkins, great. Where do you think we would have finished in the Premier League last season if we had Cunha and Mbeumo and Watkins? Oh, that's a tough question. That is a tough question, Isif. We still would have had a lot of the problems we had. Namely, yeah, I look, Ten Hag wouldn't have got the sack probably, so we wouldn't have had Amorim. I'd probably say 7th, to be fair. Not too high, but certainly higher. Ben's made a good point. Ben Martinson says, I want Sesko, but I know the English media will hound him from day one if he doesn't score on his debut, saying they should have signed Watkins. Ben, I'd never even thought of that. You're absolutely right. Remember when we signed De Ligt? He's been a good signing, but it was the replacement for Maguire and they gave him a load of shit. You're absolutely spot on. I hate to say it, but it's true. We go for Sesko and not Watkins. There will be that whole expensive flop shit if he doesn't start well. And also, let me just say this. I think this is really important too. If we're going for Sesko and we don't get him in for the Arsenal game, we're setting him up to fail. Look at what happened with Anthony. Anthony didn't come in until the end of August. No pre-season. £80 million. I don't think you're doing any player any... Look at Agate. It's not fair on a new signing coming into a new country to not get a pre-season and not be there for the start of the season. And United need to learn that one quick as well. If you bring Ollie Watkins in, at least he knows the league, at least he's experienced. But if you bring Sesko in, he's got to be there for the start of the season. Otherwise, it's just not fair. Billy Welch says, I like Sesko, but I think Watkins definitely helps us the next 2 years. There'll be another 3 or 4 Seskos next year. Use Sesko to get the deal quicker. I think that that's a really that's what I will say is I think it's really important. Whatever happens, we have to use this to our advantage. You either come out of it with Watkins on a cheap price or you come out of it with Sesko. You can't come out of it with Newcastle at Sesko at Newcastle and Man United still having to pay 60 for Watkins. We have to make it work like Arsenal did with Gyökeres and Sesko. I'm delighted to hear that we want players that actually want us, but are we to understand this was not the case before? It's concerning, says Jeremy. And Sesko plays in exactly the same system at Leipzig, says Joe. We need a more experienced striker, says James. Is Klopp head of the RB group? Can he stop Sesko, says Chris. Well, you know what? I don't really take any notice of that Klopp thing because I think Favel and his RB relationship can obviously have a good sway our way. But what's Jurgen Klopp going to do, really? I think you should go to Newcastle because I don't like Man United because I used to watch Liverpool. Well, with all due respect, it's my career. I want to go to Man United. I mean, Newcastle want to keep Isak. Please go to Saudi because then we can make some money through FFP. I want to go to Liverpool. You see, so the player drives it, really. Donnarumma and Watkins or Sesko and Lemens. Donnarumma and Watkins, rude, but it's not going to happen, is it? Thank you very much for that. You are director of football. You can only sign 2 players. Midfield, striker, goalkeeper. Budget of 130 million with player sales. Who are you signing and why? So 2 from 4. I've got to go goalkeeper, mate. I'm an absolute hypocrite if I don't. So I'll go goalkeeper and I'll go for the best goalkeeper. Well, I'll go goalkeeper and striker, and 130 million. I think I'd have to go like Sesko and Costa, who are both risks but are both quality. In my opinion, Watkins brings continuity along with Mbeumo and Cunha as a capable front three that's guaranteed goals and are used to the Premier League. Sesko's definitely more of a risk, but the upside is bigger. Watkins could bring stability, like you say. It's tough. It's tough, isn't it? It really is. I'd be happy with either. As I said, I'd just be pissed off at Sesko going to Newcastle. Yeah. Right, I have been promising to do this. God, bloody hell, I haven't been looking at the numbers. 24,500 watching again. Please do share the video if you're watching. We've got the after show coming up in about 10 minutes. If you don't know what that is, you're in for a treat. Big shout out, 2,129,000. We're only 300 away from 2,130,000. So please click and subscribe. It's free to do it. Bottom right-hand corner. Get involved with the United Stand. We're live every night at 8 p.m. UK time, every morning at 10 a.m. UK time, and every afternoon at 2 p.m. UK time. And whilst the tour's on, because Beth's out there, she's been doing live shows at 2 a.m. UK time, which is obviously, I should know this because I was on the East Coast. 9 o'clock. And West Coast about 6 o'clock. And different times around the world as well. What am I doing here? There we go. Okay, so I've wanted to talk about this for a while. Obviously, the 8 o'clock show gets driven by you. But people talk about the goalkeeper. People talk about the midfielder. And people talk about the striker. I think we've had a really good take a few minutes ago about Cunha and Mbeumo can't turn this ship around on their own. They're two players with 9 players that drop their heads when things go bad. That is a concern, of course. The goalkeeper is a concern. I actually think the wing-backs are a concern that don't get spoken about enough. It surprises me, maybe when the season starts, maybe we've just got too much to think about, and maybe because we're not going to buy a wing-back, we don't talk about it. But the wing-backs, for me, are still really, really important. Joel, I'm going to have to remove this because I've got no interest in anybody looking at that channel. I'm sorry, you've just made a stupid mistake. So, no, I'm not promoting that at all. They're a bunch of shithouses, and I'm not having that. In fact, we'll ban that word. He wants me to go and look at TalkSport. No, bloody promoting them. Anyway, going back to what I do want to talk about is the right wing back and the left wing back position at Manchester United, because I know we're not going to sign anybody there, but this is basically why Amorim plays 3 at the back. This is a huge part of Amorim's system. Yeah, the 2 number 10s are important, the striker's important, your goalkeeper's always going to be important, and your midfield pivot's important. But the wing-backs who are full-backs are so important, and this is going to be a real key to how Man United work this season. And when you look at it, it's a greyer area as anywhere else. Who's going to be the 2 number 10s? Who's going to be the striker? Is Onana going to be in goal? What's the midfield pivot going to be? Who are our wide players? Are they ready? And how are they going to play? I think this is a huge question. Now, I like the look of Dorgu. I always have, but he's still very young. It's a big season for him. On the right-hand side, will it be Ahmad? Can that work? Game in, game out. Will it be Delo? Is that enough? Will it be a back 5 like it was last season? Is it actually going to get forward and provide width, and we're going to play with 3 centre-backs? I think this is a huge topic for conversation. And I also think it's just evidences the enormity of the job that Ruben Amorim actually has. When you break that 11 down, you've got a goalkeeper nobody trusts. You've got 2 wide players who we don't know whether they're going to be fullbacks, proper wide wingers, who they're going to be. Are they ready? Are they good enough? 3 centre-backs I'm actually happy with. Good options. I think they know their job. Midfield pivot, bloody hell. Open that box up again. What's that going to be? Will it be Bruno and somebody else? How's that going to work? Is it going to be good enough in the Premier League? Number 10s, we've got 2 new ones coming in. Who's going to be the striker? There's lots of aspects to that team. And, you know, sometimes you go into a season and you go, I'm a bit worried about left back. A bit worried about the striker getting the goals. Oh, I'm a bit worried about the goalkeeper. He can be unreliable. United have got so many areas in that team. Midfield, striker, wing-backs, goalkeeper. Those are areas of the team who the number 10s are going to be. Those are big areas. Some might say too many areas. He's got to fuse together for this season. So don't start thinking it's just about getting a striker or getting a goalkeeper or getting a midfielder. I still think this season is going to be a huge, huge challenge for Ruben Amorim. And I think we have to be eye-open to that, because one thing we do know is hated, adored, but we're never ignored. And I don't know what the expectation from ex-players, the media, is going to, certain sections of our fan base are going to be. But I think we all need to land as a fan base individually on what we're expecting next season, and we need to stick to it. Because if we're getting beaten by Liverpool 4-0 at Anfield, but we're 6th in the league, I'd say very disappointing, but look at where we are in the league, that's a positive. But if we go to Anfield and we scrape a 1-0 win and we're 14th in the league, I'd say good result, but this is shit. So I think context is going to be so key this season. You've got to land on where you think United, what you think would be a good season for United this season. You've got to be consistent with that. And I think you've got to go into it with your eyes wide open about the issues in the team and how many things need to be solved and how many actually have been solved. So, for example, for me, if we go into the season with Onana in goal, I ain't pitching us any higher than 7th. If we go into the season without a striker, same again. If we go into the season with that midfield and we put Bruno in it, same again. And even if we do get a goalkeeper, a midfielder and a striker, I'm still going to say everyone's got to get used to each other. Can the wing-backs work? Will it be a back five? Will we be counter-attacking? So I think there are so... And look, I nearly said I don't envy you, but we're all in the same boat. There's a lot to assess about Manchester United this season, and there's a lot that can go wrong and there's a lot that can go right. If I'm being completely honest with you at the moment, if the season started tomorrow with what we've got, I'd go, don't trust the goalkeepers. Need to see what happens with the wide players. Need to see what happens with the midfield. Need to see what he does with the front three. I'm pitching us in as an acceptable 8th. And you can't get sacked for that. So I'd say 8th is where I'm pitching us, and he shouldn't get sacked for that. I don't like it. I do not like 8th, but I would say where we are at the moment, and we can all play this game, if we finished 8th, I would hate it. We would get bantered for it, but you can't sack Amorim. I don't think we should be putting ourselves any higher than that at the moment. So Savage says 8th is not good enough. No, it's not good enough, mate. It's not good enough at all. But my point is, I wouldn't sack Amorim for that. I'd be saying it's not good enough, and I'd say 8th is not good enough for Manchester United. But I wouldn't be saying it's Amorim's fault, because I look at that squad and I think that's about what it is. That's about what it is. Remember, Cunha didn't finish 8th or higher with Wolves, and neither did Mbeumo with Brentford. So I think 8th with what we are at the moment is realistic, and he shouldn't get sacked for that. Which is why I would say that we still need more, because I think 5th is up for grabs. Now, you give me a goalkeeper that I trust, you give me a striker that I'm excited about, and you give me a midfielder, and I'm going to say let's go for 5th, because I want to be positive. I want to get behind the team. P. Don says, I saw your tweet. Don't forget, by the way, I can't forget. I don't know how I'm going to do it, mate. I don't even know what I'm going to do, you know. At the end of the day, I'm up tomorrow morning at my normal time, and then Man United are kicking off at 2:30, early hours of Thursday morning. Do you go to bed early after the 8 o'clock show? Do you stay up and you're going to be up till 5 o'clock? I mean, I'll be headbutting the bloody desk, mate. Stand-up desk. I'll be bloody underneath it with a pillow and a bloody quilt. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. Mark, when the show ends, please end on a great story or joke. That's no pressure, is it, Tom? Delo or Ahmad right wing back, Dorgu or Mount left wing back, depending on what we want, defence or attack. Mount works hard and would get him in the team. Just a thought. Mount as a left wing back. Well, mate, I'll tell you what, we'll all remember the name Cyprus if that's true. P. Don says, I saw your tweet of attendance of our first game compared to World Cup, Club Cup, and I just thought in Ireland the final was over 80,000 and we're amateurs. Yeah, but you love it over there, hurling and GAA. Have we forgotten how it goes when we sign players at their last contracts? Usually doesn't end well. Give me Sesko, please, says Watkins. Bottling Kenda was an early blow, says Matthew. Anana makes me so nervous. His short passes to defenders who are marked every time, says Pete Jones. Mendes on the left, Ahmad on the right, sell Delo, says JB. And if you start Shaw and Delo versus Arsenal, that's scary, says Ryan. Rasmus has tainted my opinion on up-and-coming strikers. The shirt weighs heavy, whereas Watkins is a sure thing, says Netflix and Chilwell. Just really worried about Sesko holding Obi back, whereas Watkins can move on after a couple of years, says Paddle. And look, I'm not doing that, Joel. No, not doing that. Let me just have a quick look here. Somebody just said something to me. I've actually got a poll for you in the after show. Yeah, there's nothing United related at the moment. Yeah, James Trafford to Man City is an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, you could say, why didn't we look at that? I don't know. Anyway, look, absolute legends as always. We have dropped from 24,000 to 23,000. It's the Love Island crew. It's weird. Every bloody year. Every year in the summer when it hits 9 o'clock, we lose 1,000 viewers. I just don't get that. I mean, so basically, from a demographic point of view, marketeers would love this, but I can give you free information. That about 10% of United Stand's audience watch Love Island. It's a fact. I don't know whether I'm happy about that or not, but it's a fact. I mean, some of you probably like Doctor Who. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. We're trying to hit 130,000 up there. We're back for the 10 o'clock show tomorrow. I'll speak to you later. Right, after show. I am going to kick this off because it's our first ever after show poll. How do I word this? Right. Yes or no, it's going to be. I'm going to tell you a story, and then you're going to tell me whether you agree with it or not. Was he right to challenge the bill? I'm not going to do the poll yet. It's just ready to go. Okay. I was thinking about this today because I got invited to a party in a couple of weeks, but it's not actually people I know. It's friends of Mrs. Goldbridge. I've been to plenty of these over the years, and I don't know. Like, I just, you know, I'm like lemonade. I'm a good mixer. You can put me with lots of things. I'm a very good, you know, as I said to you before, I'll make eye contact, and if I find you boring, I'll just nod at the right times and tell the story of myself or think about something football related. So I'm very good at feigning interest, and, you know, people just haven't got a clue. But anyone who talks to me now will think I'm doing that. Only if you're boring. Anyway, so I'm sort of like, oh. I don't know whether you're like this as you get older, because some of you are younger, but when I used to go out, like in Ireland, when I lived in Ireland, I was between the age of 19 and 23. Every Friday night I'd go out in Dublin, and then on Saturday night someone would always have a party, because where I lived there was a lot of people had house parties. So on a Saturday night, you'd go down the off license. I think I used to buy 8 cans of Budweiser and a small bottle of whiskey. I mean, you're not having a quiet one on that, are you? And you're not. And it wasn't to share. Now, if I go to this house party, we'll probably take a bottle of wine between us, and I will be nudging her or doing WhatsApps or yawning at about 9 o'clock, saying, "Oh, should we get an Uber?" Yeah, I approach parties in a different way these days. But to bring back to the poll, which I'm about to do, so we've been invited to this party, and it's with a set of people that we went out with a few years ago, and it was not a party; it was one of their birthday parties. Now, Mrs. Goldbridge knows some of these people. I know some of these people, but loads of people. There was a lot of people, about 20 people at the table. We were sat at one end with the people we sort of knew, and then friends of the person whose party it was were down the other end who we didn't know. First of all, they were really loud. It wasn't a competition. Yes, we've got better conversation than you, but you don't need to laugh at crap jokes to try and make yourself sound louder. Anyway, we were all going to go onto a club afterwards. So we were like, we didn't get starters. And we were like, you know, drinking like, you know, steadily. The bill comes and it gets passed down the table. And one of the people I'm with quickly had a look at it and went, bloody hell. That's bloody expensive. Let's have a look. Because like it'd been passed down and somebody had said, shall we just all split it? There's about 20 of us, so you know, divide it by 20. So if the bill's 2,000, what's that? 100 quid each? Quick maths. Anyway, this person I'm with looks at it and goes, bloody hell, 100 quid each? We only had a starter and that and a couple of drinks. So looked at it. That end of the table had bloody loads. Bottles of this, starters of that. Anyway, he goes, I'm sorry. I know we're all on a night out, but I ain't paying that. You lot can figure out what you've had because I don't want to be an arsehole, but I'm not paying it. Start the poll. Was he right to challenge the bill? Yes or no? He said, I ain't paying it because, you know, you've never said, you've obviously gone and got rounds of drinks that we didn't have. You've ordered starters that we weren't aware of. So, you know, I'm not made of money. You can figure out what you lot have all had, and you can split all that, and we'll do that down here. Was he right or was he wrong? I'll let you know. So, 87% of you said he was right. It was me! It was me! Get in! Get in! You knew it was me, didn't you? Yeah. Well, you know what? I think that there is an aspect of... Well, I just thought they were taking the piss, actually. I thought they were taking it. What did they say? Well, they didn't have much bloody choice because I was willing to go to war on it. Like I think somebody did chirp up with, well, we're only paying what we're paying for. And I went, this is about to get very interesting. I hope you've bought your washing up gloves because when we don't pay and they're left short, someone's going to have to get in the bloody kitchen and start washing up pots because they ain't going to let us go. And then they decided, there was a lot of tutting. I thought, I just like, fucking cry me a river, I ain't doing it. Mrs. Goldbridge was a bit embarrassed, but, you know, at the end of the day, I could tell the ones on our side of the table just didn't want an argument, but did agree with me. In fact, they did agree with me, because when we went to the club, funnily enough, them lot didn't come, I got a couple of free rounds. They were like, fair play, I would have said something. And I felt like saying, why didn't you say something then? Why didn't you back me up? But I'm used to those sorts of people who, you know, silently back you up from the background. But no, I was like, I'm not going to do it. What are you going to do? If one of them had been really big and had pinned me up against the wall and said, do it or I'm going to beat the shit out of you, I might have considered it. I'd have kind of got, you know, it's fine. All right, it's okay. I was just, you know, trying it on. But no. Why? It's not right. It's not fair. It's not being tight. They were taking the piss, and I don't like people who take the piss. All I could envision them was chomping on their bloody starters that we didn't know they'd had. Oh, I'll have another one. I'll just get another bottle. Get another bottle. I've only had 2 pints. We're going out clubbing, taking it easy, just lining our stomachs with one meal. You've had starters. She's gone for the bloody, what do they call it? You know, Knickerbocker Glory. You know, those things that are like big, massive, full of... What are you eating something like that for? And I've seen you quaffing bloody pink champagne. And I bet you had a bloody starter. Look at you. She wasn't... I'm not having a go at her weight. That would be wrong. But at the end of the day, we're all on a night out for her birthday. Who you ruined. I was quick to get that one in. I was not having that. I was not having that for the next week from Mrs. Goldbridge. You've ruined her birthday. You should have just paid. I got that in really quick. I said, you're ruining her birthday with this. You've all been greedy, and now you're making us pay for it. You're ruining her birthday. I knew to get in with that one quick because they were going to do that, but they weren't quick enough. You've got to go in. You've got to go armed, right? I knew they would say to me, well, you're just fancy being so tight on her birthday. So I got it in really quick. I went, we're not paying for this. We didn't have what you had. We've just had a meal and a couple of drinks because we're all going out for her birthday. You lot have not told us. You've had your starters. You've had loads to drink. She's had that big pudding. She won't last anyway. She's going to be full. You ruined her birthday with your greed. And now you won't pay for it. Gluttony. The 7 deadly sins. And I knew I knew that was the card as well. That was the Uno card. That was the flip it back onto them. You're not having that. You're not having that. So, yeah, it worked out all right. I mean, look, we had a good night at the end of the day. But, I mean, who does that? Who does that? Champers. I'm surprised they didn't have champers. They probably did have a bottle of champers at the end of the day. But who does that? Who goes out on a night for a meal? The meal was not the thing. It was a meal and then a club. You don't go into the meal and eat fucking 3 courses. I mean, I remember at the time I wanted to have a look at the receipt and I was going to say to her, what was yours then? I know you've had that because you're still eating it now, just barely looking up whilst you're eating your strawberry ice cream going like that. You know, you got anything to say or is your mouth full of ice cream? I would love to have got the receipt back because I'd love to know what they had because I would have gone a Knickerbocker Glory, a big steak and fried chicken as a starter and a bottle of pink champagne and you're going clubbing. Selfish, that's what that is. You've just come out for the bloody meal, haven't you? Disgusting. Probably had lobster as well. Yeah. You pay for what you order, says Red Vision. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I just want to say, like, it's not that I'm not generous. Like, you get me at a wedding, oh my God. Something changes in me at a wedding. I have been to so many weddings, and whilst I will say sometimes, you know, like that, the other end of the table, I wouldn't have pissed on them if they'd been on fire. At a wedding, I'd have paid that bill. There's just something about Goldbridge and weddings that brings out the best in him, brings out the generosity. I remember going to my brother's wedding about 8 years ago. Didn't really know that many people because a lot of his mates were there, her family were there, obviously. You've got to invite them. And I got sat on a table with Mrs. Goldbridge, a couple of my kids, and we didn't spread my kids out, by the way. I only had a couple at that time. And a few other people we didn't know. Oh, tell you what, I just love it. I was like, can I get you a drink? To be fair, it was free. It was all on the table. But, I love a good wedding. I love a good wedding. I'm there, you know, the dance floor. I'm up at the DJ, play a bit of Oasis. He says it's not really that tune. It's not really that sort of thing. All right, Belinda Carlisle, Heaven's a Place on Earth. And then after that, bit of Erasure. And then after that, Summer in the City. Yeah, and get it all on. And then I'll come off the dance floor. I'll be like, who's got cigarettes? I don't even smoke. Come on, let's go for a cigarette. Oh, you know, what you doing smoking? I'm with it. And then I'll be outside with the smokers, getting on with all of them. Do anyone want a drink? Oh, I'll go and get myself. Don't worry, it's on me. I'll go and get them. Everybody. I love it. I love weddings. Hire me out for weddings. I love it. I just, it's the one thing where I'm actually really, really happy to be generous and get involved. I'd probably do hard drugs. I wouldn't try anything like sexually that I don't agree with, but yeah, I wouldn't do the drugs, by the way. The drugs don't work. Don't do drugs, kids or adults. But yeah, I just wanted to get that in to counter the I'm not paying that bill because weddings I love. I think the wedding thing for me I just think it just takes me back to my youth. Not that I was doing hard drugs or, you know, drinking or smoking when I was a kid at weddings, but I always remember weddings as a kid. They used to seem to go on forever, and I used to go to loads of them. I don't know why I went to loads of weddings when I was a kid. Maybe loads of parents got divorced. Mine certainly did. Boo-hoo. Didn't really define me. But yeah, I just used to remember like going to weddings, and the wedding would be like midday. Then you'd have the wedding meal. And I used to love the period from about 4 o'clock till 8 o'clock, where the day guests would just sit about getting pissed. And then you'd be waiting for the evening guests to come. And as a kid, this was great because the adults have started to lose control and forget that you're there. But the kids are wired on Coca-Cola lemonade. So you take your tie off, you put it round your head, you take your shoes off, and you're basically just sliding around on the dance floor or exploring round the cricket club, getting chased by the groundsman as you play five-a-side. I just love it as a kid. So I think it's that sort of thing, isn't it? Me and Terry were talking about this on his show today about teletext. Oh, I tell you what, I wish I could bring it back. Anyway, look, 82% of you are with me. Was he right to challenge the bill? Yes. Well, there you go. That's not even close. That's a bloody landslide. That is a landslide, that is. You said you were going to talk about AI, Mark. Oh, I can't remember what I was going to say about AI. I have got a Goldbridge Hot Takes video going out tomorrow on Instagram. Goldbridge Hot Takes. Make sure you give it a follow. Actually, I could do a little game here. Because we're nearly at 11,000. I don't post on it enough, but it's a really good one on AI tomorrow. But it involves football. So if hopefully this will work. Just while I'm live with you good people. Let's see if we can hit 11k whilst we're live and I'm talking. And I'll carry on. So if you're on Instagram, click the link that's pinned in the live chat and give us a follow. I'll check my phone in a minute and see if we can hit 11k. Only takes 300 of you. But yeah, so it's a really interesting. It's going out about 1 o'clock tomorrow on that account, and it's something to do with AI and football. But I can't remember what I was going to say about AI now. I can't remember what I was going to say about it. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What would my, you know me better than most, what would my opinion on AI be? It's dangerous, but in the right hands, it's good. Oh, I know what I was going to say. If you had the choice between a robot to do open heart surgery on you, who will get it right 100% of the time and be quick, or a human being who is one of the best heart surgeons in the world, what would you choose? I'd still choose the human. Even though everything says they're quicker and they will do it right, I'd still choose the human. I also think as well, Terminator. I do. I just think Terminator, like, you know. But somebody said to me, AI will never think for itself. It will never be able to think for itself. It will always be programmed, which makes it feel like it's intelligent, but it will always be drawing from previous things. I don't know whether that's true or not. I just don't think the human race, i.e. me, are capable of the utopian society that we think we are. I just don't think we would be happy waking up when we want, getting up, doing what we want every single day, while computers do everything for us. I think that destroys mental health. I think that destroys aspiration and creativity and value and self-worth. I mean, I go on holiday and after 2 weeks, I'm ready to go back to work. Aspirational, you know, start again. That's why I love Christmas. I think Christmas for 2 weeks is great because it's your reward for the end of the year. And also after Christmas, it's your preparation for a new year. Life without aspiration and creativity, I don't like it. Honestly, I don't know why we're chasing that. Who decided that? Who decided that we all want to wake up in the morning, sit by a swimming pool, or wash our car, or sit watching programs? Who makes the programs? You know, I just think my happiest time was probably the 90s, where, you know, everything was creative, and I would challenge that. Interesting story. I went for a shit today and I forgot my phone. We all do it. The shit, not the phone. And for a moment there, I'd started. And I sort of thought, where's the phone? Because if it's in the next room, I can probably strategically hold it enough that it won't drop out and grab my phone. I even thought about that. How sad is that? But I'd gone past the point of no return. And unfortunately, it was going to be a lengthy one because I had some ibuprofen the other day and that makes me constipated. So I was in the position where I was like, I've forgotten my phone, I'm sat on the toilet, and I'm going to be here for about 10 minutes, and all I've got is myself. I've got no phone to flick through. And I'll tell you what, it's the happiest, well, it wasn't the happiest 10 minutes. It was a bit of a struggle, to be honest. Yeah, a bit painful at times. But I got through it. But it was 10 minutes of myself without my phone. And you know what? I just was like, this is great. This is absolutely great. I'm able to just think. Now, people would say, well, this is social media. Well, I disagree. I think TikTok, Shorts, Flip, that's very different. This is interactive. This is making you think. This is off the cuff. This is not scripted. I think this is very different. Somebody just said we've had a Ben Jacobs bomber. Well, he doesn't do Ben Jacobs bombers, does he? And we haven't. We haven't, actually. He made that up. Ollie Watkins is very open to Manchester United. Sources close to Villa hint that an offer of 50 million might stand a chance, especially if Watkins drives for a move away. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I like Ben Jacobs. You know I do. I don't like TalkSport. But who broke the Watkins story on Thursday? Us, from our source. What did we say on Thursday? The next step needs to be Ollie Watkins pushing for the move. So I don't think that really changes anything. To be honest with you. I think it changes if Watkins puts a transfer request in. Running Dog says you're getting Watkins. Look, we'll deal. I like Ollie Watkins. I will fight the movement against him. I do like Ollie Watkins. I do like him. But the thing about Sesko is, look, I said it earlier, didn't I? Flip a coin, Watkins or Sesko. If it lands on Watkins, I actually feel sad we didn't get Sesko. If it lands on Sesko, I'm not so sure I feel straight away sad we didn't get Watkins. I might do in a year's time if Sesko flops. I think it's tough. It's really, really tough. What's this? There we go. Okay, thanks everyone for tuning in. We have got loads of content coming up for you at the moment, so please do subscribe. Love the after show. Really appreciate that. Will you be? Big question is, Mark, will you be taking your phone for your next shit? Well, this is the whole point. I'm actually thinking, I actually just quite enjoyed it without having my phone there. So I think I'm going to try it again. Not tomorrow. I don't tend to be that regular, but the day after. Take care, everyone. Thanks for, that's the perfect cue for, say, typical Goldbridge, always talking shit. I've done the joke for you. 81% of you wouldn't have paid the bill as well. Thank you very much. And that's the real quiz. Take care, everyone. Speak to you in a bit. Take care. Stay safe.